Welcome, GM. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Overpriced JPEGs, the show about NFTs and the metaverse. I am Carly Riley, and I am so excited to be kicking off 2022 here at Overpriced JPEGs. I have to tell you, I am so excited about what this year is going to bring for this show. I'm not going to talk too much about this here. I will talk about it on Saturday's episode, which is coming out in a couple of days. I want to just dive right into today's episode, but lots of good stuff is coming down the pike. Today, I am interviewing Inverted, who is on the Council of Kongz. He really runs marketing and growth for the CyberKongz project. And I have to say, this conversation made me see CyberKongz so differently than I had thought of them previously. I don't know if it's just me or people who have come to this space a little bit more recently than some of the true OGs, but I thought that CyberKongz was this like kind of mysterious, too cool for school, like super expensive elite project that was like inaccessible and like shrouded in like Illuminati type shit. And sorry, there's cursing in this episode. And honestly, what I found was not that that was an entirely inaccurate picture. I think they are mysterious, and Inverted will talk about really their marketing strategy in this episode. But they're also really open and kind and friendly and like not at all trying to be too cool for school, which I guess is like secretly what makes them so cool. Anyhow, if you, like me, really didn't have a sense of what this project is, I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. CyberKongz is really a behemoth in this space, not just because of how much their Genesis Kongs are worth or their baby Kongs or any of their Kongs. It's not just about the prices of their tokens. It's about how much they were the first. Like they were the first to do a lot of things that are now very commonplace in this space. So we talk about that. We talk about some of what they did first. We talk about where Kongs might be in 10 years. We actually recorded this back in December of 2021, so Inverted gives us his 2022 market predictions, and he actually compares CyberKongz to a Bentley. And that's part of this sort of discussion on how CyberKongz approaches marketing. So I don't think you'll be disappointed if you've been curious about Kongs for a while. I think this will help shed light on the project, and I really hope you enjoy it. Before we get into it, we have a word from our sponsors, and then please enjoy this conversation with Inverted from the CyberKongz project.
Axie Infinity is a game universe filled with cute, fascinating little creatures called AXIEs that players can collect as pets. Players aim to battle, breed, collect, raise, and build kingdoms for their AXIEs. There are and will be many varied gaming experiences for AXIEs, many of them having players compete with each other using complex strategies and tactics to attain top rankings or be rewarded with coveted resources. Others will have them complete quests, defeat bosses, and unlock in-depth storylines. There are countless unique AXIEs that players can collect with varying body parts and experiences. The AXIE universe is a player-owned economy where the players can truly own, buy, sell, and trade the resources they earn in the game through skilled gameplay and contributions to the ecosystem. It's a digital nation where people come together globally with their AXIEs to play, earn, and live. Join the AXIE revolution at welcome.skymavis.com. Polygon is Ethereum's largest and most vibrant scaling solution to date. With millions of monthly users and all of the biggest DeFi apps, the Polygon ecosystem has turned into a blossoming metropolis of DeFi activity. Transactions on Polygon are quick and cheap, allowing users the freedom to achieve their DeFi goals, all while being economically anchored to Ethereum. But Polygon isn't just the proof-of-stake sidechain. The Polygon team is building a suite of scaling solutions, including Polygon Hermes, Maiden, Nightfall, and Zero, all with different design choices in order to be optimized for all possible crypto use cases. If you're a developer who wants to build on the Polygon ecosystem, go to the link in the show notes to check out their fantastic documentation. And if you're a user who just wants to experience fast and cheap DeFi, you can bridge over your ETH or other tokens and start playing around with any of the thousands of applications that are available on Polygon.
Hello, Inverted. Thank you so much for being here today. Very excited to have you. I've wanted to talk to somebody from the Kongz team for a while, and I'm just glad we could make this happen. I have to say, I feel like CyberKongz is a little bit like the Illuminati of the NFT world. I feel like that's the reputation y'all have, like sort of mysterious. Like a lot of you still go by like pseudonyms or other
Anon names.
names. Yeah, anon names. There we go. That's the degen way of putting it. So, are you doxxed, by the way, or are you only ever inverted and nobody knows who you are?
A little bit of both. So a lot of my background is marketing and whatnot. So I have some presence from before, but for the crypto world and NFTs, I pretty much keep it all under inverted.
Cool.
There's a couple select individuals out there that know though.
So we'll get a little bit into your background, I think, towards the end. But I really wanted to kick it off with Kongz, and was hoping you could tell us like the origin story of CyberKongz, because I think it's really interesting how this all happened. It was sort of an accident to some extent that this project has become what it is.
100%. Yeah. And thank you for your time, by the way. I know you're obviously busy and have plenty going on. So thanks for having us. But yeah, origin story
Happy to be
was,
here.
it started off as a COVID project by Mayu, MYOO, back in March, early March, like the 3rd or the 4th. And it was literally just kind of a fun thing to do with him and a couple of his friends. NFTs were starting to pop off, and everyone literally worldwide was pretty much on lockdown. So they spent some time just kind of designing, tinkering, seeing what was there, and randomly decided on that day to upload 1,000 monkey pictures. Started off as just the 1,000 Genesis that were all hand/macro uploaded onto the OpenSea storefront page. Took, I think, 16 to 20 hours or something like that to get them all on, because of just the process of click here, click there, click that. Definitely an interesting time. I remember coming back and seeing how the sales were going over the first couple days. And back then there wasn't really a whole lot of volume pumping through anything. You were kind of lucky if any project got up to like a 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 ish F value wise, and this one sold out in 3 days, 4 days, I think. And in that time,
And we're talking about March of this year, so March of 2021.
correct, March 2021, sorry. Sold out in 3 or 4 days, and the floor price went up to somewhere between 3 and 4 F within the next 24 hours. And then, of course, post mint price drop got down to, I think, like 1 or 2, and then hovered right around the 2 to 3 range for a while, and then, fluctuated between now and then. But
And mint price had been 0.01.
sorry, yes, mint price was 0.01 back then, and F was, I think, right around 1,600. So it was we were paying $16 for minting the Genesis Kongs, and then about 45 in gas. So
Do you
three
call
times
it
the price.
F, not ETH?
I do call it F.
Do you know that that's non-traditional?
I do. I found that out being out more in public.
You have since been made aware that that's so funny. And is it like a potato thing? Or like, and I'm the idiot, or are you saying it wrong?
No, I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
probably saying it wrong, honestly, but
that's hilarious.
yeah.
This is why I think CyberKongz is like this. I don't know, that fits somehow in the CyberKongz world. Y'all are like your own special like Illuminati ecosystem that calls ETH F, and like
No, no,
it's
no.
like
I think
you're the
most of
secret
them.
power brokers.
Yeah, no, I think most of them call it F. No, which one do you call it? Sorry,
ETH. I
E.
call it ETH.
You call it E. So I think that's because a lot of
Yeah.
people say Ethereum, whereas I say
Yes.
Ethereum. So it's like the AE idea, the kind of
Mm.
mashed together like Aether.
Mm.
That's where I pull my
All
my
right.
saying from. But yeah,
I'll allow it. I'll allow it for the show.
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
um,
No, no, no. Of course.
okay, so I mean, it's just fascinating to even think that this project that is, one of the biggest projects by value, still took 3 or 4 days to sell out, which I know you're saying at the time was actually fast. It sounds like is what I hear you saying, right? That was pretty good for the project.
Yeah, there wasn't even a standard as far as like collection size, or a lot of people were doing like 100, 200, because to be honest, it was a pain to upload onto OpenSea, and most people weren't writing their own contracts then, and
Well, even the fact that it was an OpenSea contract initially is so interesting, because now that's sort of seen as lowbrow, and like, so,
yeah,
looked so down
100%.
upon. When did you guys migrate over to your own contract?
Yeah, so about a month later, I think it was April 13th or 15th, somewhere right around there, we migrated all, or not all of them, but most of the 1,000 Genesis over to the new baby and banana contract. And that was actually the birth of the banana token as well.
which we're going to talk a lot about. I think that's sort of the core of something that fascinates people about CyberKongz.
Of course, yeah.
But I want to talk about, so you at that point, where did you fit into the ecosystem in March as this project was launching?
So I was actually just a holder. Came in as I was talking to Mayu on Twitter before there was even a Discord. I think I was like the 12th person in Discord, sitting there talking about random monkey pictures and stuff. So as far as like the, we'll say, leadership formation is of CyberKongz and kind of how that's evolved, it started off as Mayu as kind of a solo project with a couple just friends helping him out. Shortly after that, my understanding is Coco came in, Coco Bear, if you're familiar with him in the space, came in and basically said, hey, like, this has legs, like let's bring the community around and keep this going. So between, my understanding is between Owl, Lixie, Coco, and Mayu, they came together and basically created and we'll say defined what CyberKongz is today. Then from there, we've kind of expanded out to what we call a Council of Kongz, which is essentially an oligarchy of 10 people who rule the new and creation side of things for the brand, whereas we then also have a DAO for anything that changes inside the brand.
So you say these folks came together and you were sort of a holder at that point, and they defined what CyberKongz would be, and were like, okay, we want to take this project seriously. This thing that started off as really just a whim, we're now going to fully dedicate to it and make it something. What is that definition of what a Kong is? Like when they came together and said, okay, this is what Kongs are, it sounds sort of like a branding exercise. Like how would you articulate what CyberKongz is?
Yeah, so I mean that's just like the space, it's an ever evolving process. We're definitely not trying to nail ourselves down, I'll say, to a certain part. But in general, the Kongz system slash build and eco is all about an inclusive community with exclusive owner benefits. So we, the Discord, we always call it jungle. Like, doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you hold, you are allowed to, come in, hang out. Like, we're all Kongs, whether you have one or not.
And you've also said, I think the project talks about this regularly in its sort of materials, is like Kongs are 2D, 3D social avatars. And you've sort of, I think, made yourselves distinct in that you haven't said we are a game. You haven't done a lot of what I think other projects have done in that front in terms of trying to really emphasize like our utility, our end thing is a game, our end thing is X, Y, or Z. You've really said, hey, we're these 2D, 3D social avatars. Why have you done that? Talk a little bit about that decision, if it even is a decision or if it's just something that's evolved naturally.
Yeah, of course. So Mayu's took a lot of his inspiration from the kind of build out of what a CryptoPunk was. The whole PFP thing obviously started with them. And, part of the realization after getting into this is that it's not possible to be just them. There's so many people out there who haven't even heard of the space who, just like all of us, are going to want a profile picture. We all love ourselves, but at the same time, it's more fun to be a monkey or a cat or, something like that. So focusing the brand on being the 2D, 3D social avatar kind of allows us to focus on the brand itself and building the ecosystem for integration into other ecosystems. So we build assets that can basically be used elsewhere, not just as a profile or an avatar. Our VX is a great example. It's one of those where you can use it as a PFP on Twitter, Discord, wherever, no problem. But, one of the unrealized benefits thus far is that there'll be playable models, avatars, the 3D aspect, and Sandbox and other metaverses.
And to give folks a little context who maybe don't know, there's the Genesis Kongs, which is that original 1000 drop. There are then these baby or like incubator Kongs, which you make by breeding the Genesis Kongs. And then there's the VX Kongs, which are these 3D like voxel models that can be used in metaverses. So those are kind of the three categories. Do I have that right?
Correct. Yeah, we do have 3 collections in the brand.
So what I just heard you say there was interesting because it sounded like you were almost saying we're making a bet on the PFP part of this expanding. And I think what you're saying is actually sort of much bigger than that, but is that part of the bet you're making? Like, more people are going to come into this space, and the play we're making as a brand is to say, hey, we're going to be a very cool, strong brand that increasingly people are going to want to use as their PFPs.
Yeah, I think that, Kongs as a whole kind of sets a tone, with not only their demeanor, big brainness, we'll say ape mentality for going hard into projects. Like being a Kong says something, just like with, kind of anyone who reps any brand, but with that, we do like to be front runners in the industry and focus on that. And the concept of being able to have that disassociation while you're online, I think is really important because it allows you to kind of almost reinvent yourself if you want, whether it's that Kong or that cool cat or, whatever.
So I said, I think one of the ways y'all distinguish yourselves is by having this emphasis on, hey, we're 2D, 3D social avatars and not, I don't know, for lack of a better term, being grandiose about all these other things, even though you do have a lot of other things going on behind the scenes, which we'll talk about. How would you describe Kongz in relation to other projects, or where do you think Kongz is distinct and distinguishes itself?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's actually a recent Twitter post that was shared by one of our council members, Metal, kind of summarized, we'll say, a list of ways that Kongz has front run the industry. A couple of them are just like the idea that there wasn't legendary NFTs before. You had like CryptoKitties with their like holiday ones, or I forget what they call them, unfortunately, but like they're special ones that were bred that weren't just cats. They were like cats in costumes and stuff. But Mayu originated the idea of having 10 out of the collection that were legendary, and now that's kind of a norm. Even just the term Genesis collection is something that and I could be incorrect on this, but it wasn't as widespread or even really used. And then, of course, the idea of like a utility token yielding from the NFTs themselves. Even the term VX is something that you see all over now that started with CyberKongz VX. And the reason I know that is because it was supposed to be a placeholder for us for Voxel. And, push came to shove and it was like, all right, CyberKongz VX is good. And then now we're here. So... So yeah, I mean, there's lots of like random inspirations throughout kind of, we'll say even current NFT history. Even I remember even looking in there and seeing like the original shill from Bored Ape Yacht Club in our shill zone from Gargamel. Saying, hey, this is getting ready to launch in a couple of days, and this is after our baby and our breeding banana contract had already started even. So it's amazing just to see kind of the influence, a lot of stuff that I hadn't even necessarily realized because, to be frank, we're just busy building, but definitely lots of impact all over.
You mentioned even when we spoke a couple of days ago, like the nonprofit alignment that's happened. A lot of projects saying, hey, we're going to give to charity. Mayu initially gave a lot of the initial earnings from CyberKongz to charity. Is that right?
Yeah. So the original sellout was, I think, for 10eth or ETH. Sorry.
No, of course you can say F.
No, I know.
How you feel natural.
I'm just giving you a hard time. The original sellout for 0.01 for 1,000 of them was 10 Ethereum, and it was one of those where he came in Discord after it sold out within a couple days, and he's like, guys, like this is too much. Like it's been days literally. Like what's going on here? Like I can't accept all this. Like I'm gonna go and I think he donated 60% of it to, I want to say it was the Red Apes, a monkey-based organization. I know that. I mean, frankly, it blew the community away. Like there was no roadmap. It was a stealth drop. Like no one knew who Mayu was. There was no name to Kongz or CyberKongz or, to be frank, even really any kind of monkey-based NFT other than like, the punk apes.
And so why did it take off? Is it really just the right timing and people like animals? Like, is it just sort of the combustion of all those factors coming together? Because I think about all the people now who are desperate to try and sell out a collection, who are grinding and regrinding and can't get folks to buy it.
Yeah, I mean it was definitely kind of a perfect storm. Timing, as they say, is everything, right? A month earlier, I wouldn't have been on. I know there's plenty of people that wouldn't have been on. I mean, last I knew, we're still only at like 250,000 wallets on OpenSea, so it's still early. There's still so much time. So I think it's one of those where it was a perfect time perfect timing, perfect storm, and to be frank, probably the perfect people. Coco doesn't buy everything, but he was one of the first purchasers. I want to say like number 6 or 7. of Kongz. And again, when there was, no promises, no roadmap, not even a Discord, there wasn't even a Twitter. So, and then I think people just realized kind of what was going on in the community that accidentally got created as we all kind of conjoined in Discord and Twitter and realized we're not just here for the hype. Like, we're builders and we're branders and we're marketers and we're artists. And, I think it's one of those unfortunate things where nowadays a lot of people have been attracted by the flip, and that's why it's so much harder to hold attention in a new community, because every time a new NFT springs up, they're basically trying to form an entirely new community. I've been part of Kong since March, and to be frank, I spend some time in other Discords, but I've never once felt anywhere close to as welcome. And, when something new is coming up, like a new project, it's one of those where you have people who are asking about floor price and, all the time, or when this, when that. And it's, rather than worrying about building and, what's there, they're worried about what else is coming. It's one of my favorite questions when people pop into CyberKongz Discord is, when's more utility? And I'm, obviously I always kill people with kindness. Like, that's my thing is, be nice and just answer questions. And, but it's one of those where it's like, no offense, but like, everything has utility. Like, we're still building, like it's interesting people's expectations when, as the markets evolved and changed, and most people don't even know that, their NFT that generates a token is based off of Kongz. History is a funny thing as fast as everything goes.
Well, I was going to say, it's so funny. It is important, I think, to learn the history of this space, but it's also hilarious that history means 7 months ago.
Yeah, 8 months. It's been 84 years.
7 months ago. Yeah, and it's like a lifetime in this space. I wonder if you're comfortable, and if you're not, we'll cut this out. But you had made a comparison to me. You said like sort of Chevy projects, and I'm blanking on the
Bentley.
or the Bentley. Yeah. And you don't have to name any project specifically, but can you speak to what that comparison means in the context of CyberKongz and where you see y'all sort of living?
Of course, yeah. So when it comes to people talk about marketing and how to market an NFT project and how to shill, when to shill, where to shill, I always like to explain Kongz as kind of a Bentley marketing strategy compared to a Chevy marketing strategy. Chevy marketing is they're out there everywhere, they're loud, they're proud, they produce a good product, right? Nothing wrong with that. There's a huge market, room for everyone. But at the same time, they pay for ads, they pay for celebrity voiceovers and in their commercials, and it's not very genuine, I guess is maybe the way to put it. It's showcasing a lifestyle, right? Kongz or Bentley, you don't see Bentley commercials. You don't see Bentley merchandise. But I'm pretty sure if you ask everybody if they want a Bentley, their answer is going to be yes. So it's one of those where, we always go with the organic approach. We've been reached out to by so many influencers, so many organizations, companies from all over the world about, hey, give us money and we'll get you in contact with these guys and they'll hold your product. No offense, but unless they're interested and want to spend their money, we're not interested. We're not trying to fill our Discord and our project and collection and brand with false endorsements, I'll say, right? Anyone who's here is because they want to be. When you see, Becker, Blondish, people like that who are still holding from months ago, talking about it still and using it in their, content, that's because they want to. I remember Blondish specifically. She came in. I am not in the DJ market, or I wasn't familiar with who she was, but has a huge following. And she was asking about stuff and had tons of questions, and I was helping her. And we got through, and she's like, you don't really know who I am, do you? And I was like, no, I'm gonna be honest, I have no clue. Like, until she sent me her link, and it was so many thousands of followers and stuff like that. I'm like, no, that's awesome. She's like, I was waiting for you to like shill me and like try and get me in. And she's like, I just love how genuine you guys are. We vibe really hard, and she played at one of our holder parties in New York for NFT.NYC. So yeah, it's definitely more organic approach, where we'll never pay for a celebrity endorsement. We won't pay for advertisements. We will do strategic placements for things like Decentral, when we were there with advertising there, things of that nature. But even as we get bigger and bigger, we have more and more people reach out who, again, want us to pay them to do anything. And our response is, hey, I obviously appreciate your hustle. maybe look into Kongz yourself, and maybe there's something of value for, you there to share on your own. If so, share it. Maybe you'll get some attention due to the brand that we have and as a community and things like that. That would be of value to you and for learning about the project in comparison to us just putting some dollars in your pocket.
Interesting. I did hear the Kongz party at NFT.NYC was amazing. I've heard from several people they thought very highly of it. So well done on that. And it sounds like what's so interesting is y'all are I think very well branded, and yet it feels like there aren't like meetings about like how are we branded. It comes from sort of an authentic place of one decision after another that y'all make when they arise. Is that true? Is that sort of what you're describing in terms of how the brand has gotten to where it is?
100%. It's as we talked about earlier, it's been a completely fully evolving process, from point oh 0.01 all the way up to our top price of 200. So it's been. I mean, community basis is a lot of it too, right? I mean, we have our brand, but it's also kind of we have our ideals on how we want the brand, but at the same time, it's kind of up to our community to kind of hold to that. We're not a bunch of hype beasts. You go into our Discord and Wall Street Kongz is talking about anything from the latest shitcoin to the latest NFT drop to what dropped 6 months ago. And people kind of having their own mini archaeology days and, oh my gosh, when's this from? And all the way up to in Genesis or OG Hall, where it's a little bit more slower pace, just everything from big brain conversations about what's next for Web3 to what'd you have for dinner last night, where'd you go on vacation. A little bit more of a slower pace in there for sure.
Okay, I want to get to utility tokens, and I want to start by saying, when I was first becoming familiar with Kongz and the space in general and banana tokens, it felt like this, arguably unsustainable cyclical thing where banana tokens, at one point, I think banana tokens would earn you like $240,000 a year. If you were a Genesis Kong holder, you get 10 banana tokens a day, and at their peak, they were like whatever, $120 or something like that. And I remember seeing that stat that it's like, you would earn $240,000 a year just by holding a Genesis Kong and thereby accruing banana tokens. But it felt like banana tokens have value because they can be used to breed baby Kongs that go for 5 ETH plus or whatever. But then baby Kongs have value because Genesis Kong's a value. Like it sort of was just like this cyclical thing that was doomed to implode. And I think there are people who sort of have that impression. What do you say to that, and how do you explain banana tokens?
Of course, yeah. So one banana is always one banana. The team doesn't necessarily even track or really care about the price of banana. It's our core token to utilize inside the system. Obviously, we're only 8 months old, but also 8 months old, long and short in regards to crypto time versus real time. And although baby is the baby name change as well as bio are all three things that can be used for banana. So although the baby finished for a couple days, a week ago at most, banana or baby contract, so all 4,000 of those are bred now. They gain their utility and value from their access and channel and other aspects. So as far as like you mentioned an imploding system, all the bananas that were used to breed the babies, for example, were burned, so those are no longer in the system. And then at the same time, like as Sandbox and other metaverses come out, those tokens will then be used inside those systems to purchase things like cosmetic items, wearables. Just like with Ethereum or Bitcoin, like it has to exist in order for a system to run. Otherwise, there's nothing to run the system on. You can build a car, but if you don't have gas, then it can't go anywhere.
And so what was the original inspiration for this utility token? And when Mayu was deciding he was going to dedicate fully to this project, my sense is you were sort of more fully on board as like a team member then. What was the impetus for saying, hey, we want this banana token and this is what you're going to be able to do with it?
Yeah, so the main goal has always been to be a utility token. The idea that we want to set up and are setting up an entire ecosystem that grows and evolves as Web3 does. Being a social avatar brand, it's not something that you can just put your stick in the mud and say, this is what we are. You want to remain relevant, like the only way to do that is remaining social.
So you've been talking about utility. We've been talking about utility throughout this conversation. It is a little bit of a buzzword now. People coming into your Discord being like, when is there going to be more utility, et cetera, et cetera. You had said to me at one point, there are other projects that need to build a game for themselves or some version of that in order to create utility, because otherwise they're just art. Whereas Kongz sort of has this innate utility, which I'm assuming has to do with their usability in the metaverse, et cetera. But you can correct me if you think there's something else there. And that other projects you feel like, not to name any names or diss anybody in the space, right? But that other projects are more focused on how to let people know that they have utility instead of just doing the work of building and having utility. Did I summarize a set of your views properly on that? Is there anything you want to say on that?
Yeah, so outside of just being, a social avatar, and we'll call it art, like you mentioned, the Genesis Kongs act as our node in the system, in the entire ecosystem for eternity, 10 years, whatever. Same thing as eternity in crypto. Babies are essentially what I like to call the keys to our future. So very early on in one of our Medium articles, it mentions that babies are the primary receivers of airdrops in our system. So the idea of VX, every single baby got a free VX roll.
But Genesis Kongs did not.
So Genesis got a matching 1 of 1. So similar, but different. So in order to complete the 2D, 3D social avatar, basically Genesis Kongs are the only ones that will actually have matching across all avenues. So you can have your 2D Kong Genesis as a 3D avatar because a matching 1 of 1 was made. The babies all got a random roll, so they had a chance at like the legendaries, the different traits, and all of that claim was essentially a free airdrop for every new baby that was made.
So as we're talking about utility and CyberKong's place in the metaverse, I want to make sure we highlight the banana shop in the sandbox. And y'all have a big partnership with the sandbox. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what's happening there?
Yeah, that's a lot of land is all I got to say. We have a 3x3, a 12x12, and a 24x24.
Does that make it an estate? Isn't that
Yeah, so
district?
I think anything over a 1x1 they're calling, or maybe a 3x3 at bigger is an estate. I'm actually not sure as far as their definitions there, but yeah. So we are heavily vested in the sandbox. We've had a partnership with them since before August, even. When our VX launched and minted out. So it's one of those where the banana shop is our future integration and wearables, usables, equipables type place. So the idea that, in Kongz Island, Kongz City, our different lands, you'll be able to run around, do quests, do different activities. Part of that is everything from your standard errand running to slaying monsters, stuff like that. And all of that is, the sandbox grows and allows us, of course. But so the banana shop will be the only way to get those wearables. Just like with any minting process, people love their packs and how to have a chance at rares and things like that. So it'll be a situation where you can don't quote me as far as packaging per se, but you'll be able to buy something out of the banana shop and have a chance to get a legendary sword. And in sandbox, my understanding is that different items can have different stats, different effects, different abilities. So we'll be going full tilt with that and making sure to utilize all that as well. So sandbox is definitely a place that we're very vested in, very excited for. They just got done with alpha. As far as I know, our VX were the first fully rigged 3D models to kind of be ready for that.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody like moving through some CyberKongz land. It looked really cool, I have to say, like in the sandbox.
Yeah, that was for Sandstorm. They have we have a partnership with them, and they have a little CyberKongz area on top of their HQ in their metaverse. We haven't actually leaked any information or screenshots of what our areas look like yet.
Okay, got it. So I didn't actually see something that was CyberKongz. What I saw was CyberKongz branding and the CyberKongz area on
Yep.
top of
Yep.
a different plot of land. Great. Well, that looked great. Are you guys making a bet on Sandbox more than other metaverses? Not to put you in the position to compare there, but
I would say that yes, that is mostly where we're focusing as far as our time and energy. We're always going to make sure that we have the files available as they're accepted in different metaverses and that we have integration with them. We have a partnership with Untamed Isles and Guppy Gang for that game that's coming out, which is a totally different metaverse, more centralized compared to like Sandbox's concept, but still another metaverse. So we're definitely always going to be looking to further integrate with them, but we are definitely, I will say, hedging our bets a little bit on the Sandbox for sure.
so still interested in crypto voxels and Decentraland.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Everyone is talking about the metaverse these days, and we're all still trying to figure out what it actually is, because everyone is looking for how to get exposure to it. That is why a metaverse index fund is so important, because in such a young market, an index can give you broad exposure to all the various players who are building out all these digital worlds that will ultimately become the metaverse. And that's why you should check out the Metaverse Index from the Index Co-op. The Metaverse Index gives you simple, easy, and safe one-click exposure to the emerging open metaverse trend. The MVI Index contains some of the biggest metaverse projects out there, including AXIE Infinity, Decentraland, Illuvium, and more. So join thousands of holders who have already trusted nearly $50 million to the MVI Index. And if you buy $500 of MVI on the Dharma app, you can receive $50 worth of ETH on the Polygon network. There's a link in the show notes for you to click so you can get started on your journey into the metaverse. Unstoppable Domains is the #1 provider of NFT domains. With domains ending in .crypto, .x, or .nft, Unstoppable Domains lets you replace your long, complex wallet address with a human-readable address. Using Unstoppable, you can verify the ownership over your NFTs, log into Web3 apps, and join tens of thousands of people using them as their Twitter usernames. With Unstoppable Domains, you can have all of your crypto addresses registered to one single domain. So it doesn't matter where crypto payments are coming from or where they're going. By registering all of your crypto addresses to your Unstoppable domain, all of that is taken care of in the back end. Better yet, with Unstoppable Domains, you don't have to worry about gas costs or renewal fees because you own it. Buy your domain and you can show it off as your new Twitter username. So you can get your name for as low as $5 at unstoppabledomains.com.
Well, and part of the utility, my understanding is, and even part of the banana strategy is to start plugging Kongs and bananas into existing ecosystems, which I think you mentioned earlier.
Correct. Yeah.
I know one strategy y'all have for that is your Kongz Tank. Can you speak a little bit about what Kongz Tank is?
Of course, yeah. Kongz Tank is our initiative to help newer projects succeed and kind of burst into the market. So, I mentioned earlier, Kongs are kind of known for our aping and our community and just kind of the, individualism that also goes along with, staying true inside all that. And part of that is we want to make sure that, not only are we, happy with our success and trying to continue to build, but also bringing up others with us. And part of that is Kongz Tank and the idea that people could submit their proposals that included VX and or Banana as part of their system and their eco and just community in general. In some regard that, added utility for Banana or VX in general. And then we would give them a budget of Ethereum as well as council assistance for advising and just kind of be there along the path for hiccups, issues. We have some of the top contract devs on our team, so there was questions about how to make, some efficiencies. That's what we were there for.
So Council of Kongs is something that came up. You just mentioned even in the case of Kongz Tank, the council provides advice and sort of advisory services across the project. Explain what Council of Kongs is and how did it evolve over the course of the project?
Yeah, so the Council of Kongs is a group of 10 of us. Consider us basically an oligarchy that runs the CyberKongz brand.
Which you mentioned, I suppose, actually.
Yeah. We're all specialized kind of in our own niche. Everything from, we'll say, the traditional roles of, any business, like a CEO is Coco, who's, always kind of taskmastering everybody and making sure that everything's aligned and getting stuff done. Mayu with, source content generation in regards to, like, the Genesis Kongs, the babies, the VX, all of our merch, literally all of that is still done by the original artist. He refuses to let anyone else touch it. Owl on contracts, myself on marketing. So it's one of those things where we're all volunteer. We've been volunteer since I want to say middle of June or July is when it officially formed. It's kind of been a community ran project up until that point with, Mayu and Coco and them obviously, making final decisions and stuff, but they would kind of lean on the community as far as thoughts and feedback and what to do. And I think that's kind of why the council was officially formed, is because as things grew there was more to do and more specialization needed. But it's been a fun time getting kind of all the different roles together to see how they all coalesce into what Kongz is today.
And how do you balance that sort of slightly more centralized oligarch structure within the DAO component to y'all have to have the more decentralized piece of this?
Yeah, so I think the best way to probably put that is anything that is new in the ecosystem is coming from and through us. We're a build now, hype later type brand. So it's one of those where we want to make sure that we're delivering the best and the brightest that we can. And in order to do that, to be frank, you can't tell everyone what you're doing. A lot of the times, too many cooks in the kitchen, things like that. So I think overall, the community has a pretty solid belief in the council and, what's being created, and the fact that we focus on the initial source, anything new coming in the eco, and then if there's something changing, like we reduced a cost of name change, things like that, we'll put that through the DAO. So rather than just kind of telling people what's happening there in regards to what's already been done in our previous promises, whatever, if we see something that we think needs changed or someone else sees something, there's a whole channel for verified holders to make proposals, and then those can go to the DAO type thing. So yeah, it's all about making sure that kind of all the areas are covered, but still making sure that we're able to do what we need to do to get stuff done.
Okay, let's look ahead 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, when I think the banana contract has issued all of its banana. If I'm not mistaken, that's a 10-year process. What does Kongz look like? What if you guys succeed to your wildest dreams? Where is the Kongz brand?
That's a big question.
Paint me the picture, inverted.
Paint you the picture. Okay, it's gonna start upside down, but no.
Okay, yeah. For anybody who's not on YouTube and doesn't know inverted, he's got an upside down Kong as his sort of avatar.
Yeah. I can't even attempt to guess simply because of how. I mean, I really don't like the term "we're early," but with only 25 or 250,000 wallets on OpenSea, like grandma and uncle are still asking about crypto, and I mean even friends are still asking about it without a clue. Like, it's one of those where I think anyone who tells you that they have an idea of where their brand is going to be, or even the system, then is completely full of it.
Let me ask it this way. I think there are some projects where it's clear to me, or I've even talked to them, and they say, yeah, my end goal is this character is on streetwear brand that people are wearing all around the world, and we have this game that's come out, and a TV show has launched with our characters, and we're in talks for a movie deal with Sony or whatever, right? And that's the dream. Is that Kong's dream?
I would say in some aspects, yes. In most, no. I mean, we're all about building the IP, but it's more based on kind of what the community wants more than what we want. Just like the origin of Kongz, it's been an organic growth factor, shill free. So I think as the space evolves, like I mentioned before, it's about staying flexible and almost not too much on your own goals, but the goals of your community. And as long as you're, we'll say, herding the flock the right way, like you're going to have the right minds in there to have the right ideas to get you to the right place to help you stay relevant, and to be frank, that's kind of one of the biggest challenges in not only crypto, but just any market, is staying relevant. And I think in order to do that, almost not defining and not over exaggerating or promising or stating who or what we are, as far as outside a 2D, 3D social avatar brand, kind of gives us that flexibility to continue to grow and be open to more people. So, I mean, are we against, like doing movies or comics and, blowing out the IP? No, but only when it's naturally occurring rather than.
And what would naturally occurring look like? What would that mean that somebody comes through the Kongz Tank and says, "Hey, the proposal I have is to write this comic," or how would that naturally occur?
That's a great question because we have had that already happen in regards to people reaching out in regard about creating content about Kongs, and like I know there's one gentleman who's in the process of starting a documentary. I know that there's been a couple that have reached out about like trying to do comics or other things. I think a lot of it has to do with what's important to the industry and what's not just a hype thing. Important to the community and not just a hype mechanic. So the idea of like, if we went out and blew our community wallet to force a movie to be made, it's not really, in my opinion, valuable to anyone. Even if we're getting out there more and people are seeing us and you can go watch us in the box office, it kind of adds a level of disingenuousness in the event that, somebody reaches out to us and says, hey, this is a major motion picture that we, like to talk about. That has more natural, genuine vibe to it, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at.
It feels to me, and tell me if this feels right. It feels to me like the Kongz brand is about almost a certain quiet cachet. And I think that gets into the Bentley comparison. You're not out there advertising everywhere, but you have this tremendous cachet in the ecosystem because you were an early project, because the community that flocked to you early was impressive and talented and formed this wonderful dialogue in the Discord, for example. And so the way feels like y'all are thinking about it is that in and of itself becomes a way to be differentiated in this space by not being as loud. And so you're really looking to collaborate and get Kongz places specifically in the metaverse more so than I think in sort of the analog world or IRL or these traditional, I don't know, Web 2 movie studio world things, if that's a fair way to put it. And it's let's partner with people in the metaverse, get Kongz places where they're being shown off as these kind of 2D, 3D avatars. And that will continue to build on the cachet and the mystery of the brand because we're not out there just pushing it everywhere. And you just want that kind of image and that vibe to continue to build over the next 10 years so that you are still sort of I keep using this word, but a project with cachet in 10 years, and you've expanded your reach even further, but in this very sort of, as people have come to you, as people have built out with it, we have a cool community way. Is that fair? Did I miss something in that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that we try and be mysterious or anything on purpose. I think,
Yeah.
and this is just my personal opinion, I think we may confuse some people because we're that
Mm.
way, because we don't shill, because we're not loud, we're not going at other throats of other collections. Part of the early success of CyberKongz was the fact that punks, AXIE, everyone came in. It wasn't just like a new flock of people that then spurred everything up. It was a lot of OGs in the industry who decided to come here and actually make a community where people want to stay and chat. We talked about Banana earlier and things like that. And it's one of those where, as the babies have bred out, you can kind of watch the floor price on Gen Kongs and see what's happened. There's a slight dip, but the floor is very thin. I think there's like maybe 18 or 15, something like that, before we're all the way back to like 110, 120, something around there. So it's one of those where ideally we draw in the type of people who know that one banana is one banana and it's a utility token, and they're not here for that aspect of it, but more here for the greater community that exists. I know there's been jokes on Twitter and places like that about Gen Hall and their 150x alpha discussion, and we're talking about Christmas plans and like actually having real conversations and relationships. And we've had 3 IRL events so far: LA, New York, and Miami. And I think every single one of them that was there will tell you that bond and that, the community that exists there is maybe not worth more than the NFT itself, but, just the concept that, especially in, this kind of universe, the crypto NFTs with, as much as I hate to put it this way, but there's so many scams and just ill-willed people, not on the greater amount, thankfully, but there's a lot of money being moved around, and there's always people who want to take advantage of that. So it's always nice to find a home where you can have real conversations and have real input from like-minded individuals.
I'll wrap us up here soon, but I'm curious, sort of partly your lane in the Kongz world, you said, is around marketing. What does marketing mean, and what do you spend your day thinking about when you're a marketer for a project that doesn't shill, that isn't trying to go out there and be loud and chase the glory? What does that mean for your job?
Yeah, I will say that in and of itself is probably a daily mental conversation. A lot of it comes down to so essentially I'm the CMO for CyberKongz. I do most of the like macro level marketing, whatever. But like you said, what does that mean for a company that doesn't shill and is going organic growth? And it really means more that I'm focused on building the relationships inside the jungle and making sure that those are continuing to grow rather than marketing. People want to feel welcome, right? So it's one of those where like I'll try and pop in, a monkey business, which is like our general hall, and make sure that the like a vibe check, basically that things are going well. But as far as the marketing aspect, it's more about my background is experiential marketing, so experiences in the real world and getting brands to connect with their consumers. Talking all corporate right there for a minute, and a lot of that, to be frank, kind of transfers over, right? Like, how do you get people to connect with the NFT and want to use it as a PFP and all of that? And that's an ever developing question, I will say. I don't know that there is an answer for that, but I definitely think that, our take on focusing on the relationships and the community and making sure that, everyone feels welcome is definitely part of it.
And it ties to that I heard wonderful things about your in-person NFT.NYC event. Can you tell us what you did there? Why was it awesome? Just good vibes? What made it special?
So I'm kind of sappy in that I'm always going to say it's the people, right? It was a bar. It was a rooftop bar. It was a very nice place. It was done up, Kong style, awesome colors, good food, drinks, but really it comes down to the people wanting to be there and wanting to vibe. There's a difference of going to a party to flex because, that's kind of what you want to go there to do with your group of friends, to see who else is there, and going to a party to go actually meet people. We don't have ragers, not that, there aren't Kongs who like to rage out, but the parties that we have had were more focused on allowing the community to talk. Right. And you can't do that with raging music and activities all the time, or, go in here, stand in a line, do that. You actually have to give them a place and a reason to mingle. And, Kongz was that reason. And of course, NFT.NYC and everything else. I think a lot of it is mostly just everyone wanting to be there and wanting to meet and see who they've been talking to for months. And, we also have a good time and do some special things as well, but
special Illuminati things.
no,
special things you can't talk
no
about.
Sacrifices.
Triangles,
no sacrifices. So, for example, in Miami, we had a gen holder boat party or a yacht party. There was a gen holder who he had been busy, IRL stuff, and hadn't had a chance to make it out to LA or Miami. So he, catered a yacht and went through and invited basically some of the Genesis guys and, said, hey, let's just do a chill and grill kind of, let's meet each other, network, all the way down to ice sculptures at a house party we had in Miami with Coco's VX in there. So no Illuminati stuff, not at all. But
last question, just tell us a little bit about you. How did you end up here? I think when we chatted a couple days ago, I was like, a year ago or 2 years ago, would you have ever expected that this was your life? And how did it happen?
Yeah, that's I'll keep the long story short, but yeah, I mean, my background is, again, experiential marketing, working with brands and being at events, whether that's state fairs, handing out free t-shirts, from Geico to whoever's walking by, all the way to designing, developing, implementing, marketing activations and how to get people to, connect, consulting brands. So it's one of those where, in crypto, I kind of got in 2017 when CryptoKitties was the project that kind of hit the market and got in some news channels, and I read an article. So that was my first foray into NFTs, and not that I knew it was an NFT then, but NFTs and crypto. Kind of took a couple years off in between then, and then in March, I had been kind of randomly, again, just reading my, news feed and saw an article about NFTs, and they mentioned CryptoKitties and kind of made the relation of what's going on. So I've always been big into business and psychology and philosophy and the human psyche and market conditions and like the psychology behind all that. So coming in, it was always fun to look at the activity page on OpenSea about what was going on and when and where and who and what, and that's actually what made me catch Kongz. I saw him minting mint for hours, and I was like, what is going on here? Like, is this how it's done? Like just trying to figure out the system and relearn everything. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll grab a couple of these. So I snagged 888 and then 777. And those are my first two buys there. Came back the next day and realized that he had all of them uploaded, and that like another 100 to 200 had sold. I was like, oh, okay, there, some volume moving through here. $16 a pop. That's a lot. Like, let's grab a couple more. So picked up a couple more and started talking to him on Twitter, and just kind of getting a feel for what was going on. He was super friendly, and come back the next day, and Discord's up, and there's like another couple hundred sold, and you can tell that it's just basically going parabolic and getting ready to sell out, because activity is one of those things where at the time there weren't IC tools or rarity tools or anything to tell you volume or, what collections were hot, what's not. You watched OpenSea activity page, that's all there was. So as people saw them selling, more people, FOMO kicked in, and then all of a sudden they were sold out. It was crazy. I think prices got up to like 3 or 4 that night. And then, as low as, I think the lowest I've seen Gen Kong since then was 0.7 in the middle of July-ish, I think. Yeah. crazy places to come from.
That was not that long ago. I was in the NFT space at that point. I could have thought
Yeah. Somebody hit me with a number as far as growth that CyberKongz had outperformed BTC at one point if you had bought it in 2013.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I said that was going to be my last question, but based on what you said, I have to ask one more, which is, you said you like, we've talked, you have a background in sort of philosophy and psychology, and it sounds like that translates into watching market conditions. What is your prediction for the NFT space in 2022? What do you think the market will do?
That's a great question. Definitely DYOR, NFA, all the usual disclaimers.
Yeah. We literally know nothing. None of us know anything. Don't worry.
We just pretend we know something. No.
Yeah.
I think
the microphone gives me a sense of power.
Exactly. Yep. The brand embodiment. I love it. I think it's one of those that personally, I think January, February will be good. I think tax time will scare a lot of people.
That's a good point.
I think after taxes are kind of done and over with, that things will start to ramp back up because a lot of like the brands, like IRL brands right now too, are focused on their end of year stuff, their traditional things. So it's, there was action a couple months ago from them, DAOs coming in, or not DAOs, but VCs coming in and buying all sorts of stuff and making runs on that collection and this collection. And, that's slowed down quite a bit towards the end of the year. And I think as we get past those, I think Q1 should do well, but I think there'll probably be some bumps. And I have zero clue about Ethereum. That's one of those that I personally, I got back into NFTs in the, I think 14 to 1800 range was maybe like about the lowest and highest that I saw it when I first started. So I don't even really try and pay attention to what it is. It's one of those long-term things that I think everybody kind of has faith in regards to what's happening and where's it going. And I know we're all anxious for 2.0 to come though.
Inverted, thank you so much for being here, for shedding some light into this project, which I understand is not actually meant to be mysterious, but that I think can come across a little mysterious in all good ways. I really appreciate you taking your time and just chatting about this project that has had such an impact in the space as a whole.
Of course, yeah, I appreciate your time. I know there's always tons of questions, and feel free to reach out anytime.
I definitely will. I definitely will. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, have a great day.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, head over to Bankless HQ right now to develop your crypto investing skills and learn how to free yourself from banks and gain your financial independence. We recommend joining our daily newsletter, podcast, and community as a Bankless Premium subscriber to get the most out of your Bankless experience. You'll get access to our market analysis, our alpha leaks, and exclusive content, and even the Bankless token for airdrops, raffles, and unlocks. If you're interested in crypto, the Bankless community is where you want to be. Click the link in the description to become a Bankless Premium subscriber today. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for in-depth interviews with industry leaders, Ask Me Anythings, and weekly roll-ups where we summarize the week in crypto and other fantastic content. Thanks everyone for watching and being on the journey as we build out the Bankless Nation.